Hello, hello, everybody. I am Dr. Tina J. Ramsay, the host of the Tina Ramsay Show and podcast, #1 podcast specialist and podcast instructor. And I am coming to you to give my highest recommendation, okay, for Anchor. If you have not heard about Anchor by Spotify, let me just tell you, as a podcast instructor, it's just the easiest way to make a podcast with everything that you need all in one spot. I mean, Anchor literally have you covered from the beginning to the end because they have all the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast. Get this, right from your cell phone or your computer. And when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms such as Spotify, Apple, and so much more. It's literally everything that you need to make a successful podcast all in one spot. And Anchor also enables you to be able to monetize your podcast. I'm telling you right now, I absolutely love Anchor app, and it is, get this, it's totally free. So what are you waiting for? I want you to go ahead and download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. And don't forget to tune in every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. EST for a new episode of the Tina Ramsay Show and podcast. Come share, shine, and grow on our show. Bye.
So I wrote that, and I finally let her see it. And she pulled a switch on me, and she said, and we was in one of our sessions. She said, "Roy, why don't you read your letter to the group?" Oh, my heart sank. I said, "Oh no, I can't do that. People would know that what I did, I was a coward because I left my partner, and I couldn't help him, and I couldn't do this, and I felt so ashamed." And the group, they urged me on to read it, and I read it. And after I finished reading it, we all were crying. The whole group of men, I mean, great big men who walked out, and we soldiers and stuff, and they're crying, and then they start saying, "Well, this and that," and nobody looked down on me.
Aluva G-Burn is an all-in-one weight loss supplement. If you're looking at a weight loss supplement as a whole, in my opinion, you have to target 5 or 6 different areas. And Aluva G-Burn does that. And it's the highest quality ingredients with the best absorption technologies with the highest bioavailability in each and every ingredient.
Hi, my name is Jen. I'm 47 years old. I teach musical theater classes to children, and I've been using Aluva G-Burn for a couple months now. I have 4 kids. And it seems like with each pregnancy, I gained a little more weight, a little more weight, a little more weight. And it's so frustrating to try to get that weight off. I'm just hungry all the time. I crave stuff that I shouldn't be eating. I've tried everything and nothing has worked. But as soon as I started Aluva G-Burn, I was finally able to lose the weight. It suppressed my appetite. I wasn't having to snack all day. The cravings were gone. I felt great. I now have the energy to do the things I want to do throughout the day.
Hello, everybody. We are so excited about our featured guest today, Mr. Roy Lee Jarmon. He is an amazing award-winning author. Along with being a poet, he had a very diverse life and even served our country. And he actually battles with post-traumatic stress syndrome. So he's sharing his story, he's sharing his life in order to help inspire you and help you to break through whatever challenges you have and see the light at the end of the tunnel. Welcome to the show, Mr. Roy Lee Jarmon. Thank you for just taking the time to come on the Tina Ramsay Show.
Let me first of all say thank you, Dr. Ramsay, so much. I mean, I do appreciate you allowing me to share this time with you. I know your time is very valuable and very important. And it's really a pleasure and a privilege to be on with you today. It's wonderful. I just want to thank you and all your people for this invitation.
Oh, you are most welcome.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just happy to have you on because I read a little bit about your journey and I'm very impressed and also moved with your life and your purpose and how you decided to use to heal your pain, how to heal your pain. And so with that being said, I want you to tell us because you're award winning. You just didn't just write something. You're award winning. So that congratulations. So tell us about your new book, which is Poetry by Simon, Volume 3, called My Jamaican Gem. I like that title.
Yeah, I think she was the. I dedicated this third book to my wife. She's the first daughter of a father, and he said, "This is my gem here. You know, of all the jewels, this is the gem." And everybody called her Jim. She's just everybody's Jim. And to be truthful, she is a gem. She's a wonderful individual. She's standing by my side, and I just been blessed. You know, sometimes you don't really understand what blessing means, but God has my first wife passed with from breast cancer, and I thought that was the worst thing in the world. But he um, he has blessed me with uh, two of what I consider the women who can stand by your side and can uplift you and can they know you and still love you. if, if if I'm allowed to put it that way, especially especially on my journey, because see, I know at times I can be pretty far out. I've had some situations dealing with the PTSD and so forth. So it's hard to say. My life has changed so much because you talking about how I graduated from the Valley with as a summa cum laude. And that's what I thought I was. Because every time I grew up, Roy is this or he's the genius of the family. He's this and that. First person in my family from down there in Mississippi to go to college and to graduate. And so, I thought, my knowledge gonna take me where I want to go. It's gonna do this and do that, and I just couldn't wait to get out in the world to see how far that's gonna take me. And then I got out there, and in theory, that knowledge, it worked good in school, but it, it wasn't a reality when I went out there. But anyhow, I was able to, after I came from service, the knowledge, of course, it got me a job here in New Jersey with AT&T. And I worked there for 20 years before I retired. And over the years, the situation with Vietnam and so forth, it got me, it sent me a few, shall I say, challenges. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Uh, being a man, they say, oh, man, don't cry, man, don't do this, man is strong, and so forth. And that's the way I thought I had to look at life. And these books, they're not because I'm a summa cum laude. They're from because I got to the point where I could barely read. I had crying all the time. I was tearing up, and they diagnosed me with PTSD, and so I started going to counseling sessions, and then first group meeting I went to, I didn't get along with anybody in the room, and so finally, I ended up getting into another group, of people who really cared. And, sometimes I would sit back in the corner and when the tears started flowing, I couldn't stop them. I didn't understand why. What's wrong with me? And I couldn't read, I couldn't comprehend. Uh, Things were just terrible, and my mind was just gone. I was just functioning in like a cloud, and so a lot of prayer. I was able to get a wonderful lady, Doctor. Oh my gosh, I can never forget that woman's name. Uh, Berkenstein. She really took me under her wing, and she helped me. She would talk to me, and she would. Sometimes I was when I'm talking to her, but I'm not really there. I'm still somewhere else. And I would look, and when I come to myself, I said, "She's way down here like this, looking up at me." And I said, then I realized that she was trying to look in my eyes, you know. And I imagine it must have been about 6 to 8 months. She would always ask me, and I don't know how many times she asked me during the session, was it a matter of life or death? I said, why she keep asking me that? Is it a matter of life or death? And I would tell her some things. She said, is it a matter of life or death? And I finally realized that that's the way I was operating. I was operating as if I was still in the army in Vietnam, because if you or whatever happens, it's a matter of life or death. And so you always on your guard, and that's what they call hypervigilance, because you're always looking around, you're always trying to be protected. Wake up with night sweat. Sometimes your clothes be just wringing wet with sweat. You're checking the doors and the windows every hour, half hour or something. Can't sleep 2 or 3 hours at night. And man, I remember the first time I slept 4 hours in a row. I woke up, I was like happy. I said, man, I looked, I was like, oh, I slept 4 hours. Man, oh man, so but anyhow, I want to say that these books are because of what I considered my Damascus experience. And that's what I wrote about when I did a talk for they were having a church fundraiser and so forth. And I was allowed to say a few words about being broken and coming back and so forth. And I remember the once I finally I was telling the story where I opened my Bible. I got this big white Bible sitting in the room on the table, looking great.
Southern, we all have it.
Yeah, but it was dusty. It was so I wiped the dust off it one day, and I opened it up, and it's in big bold letter. So and having the trouble about not seeing, and I began to read it. I said, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I said, wait a minute, I understand that. And as I read, so I read another verse and I read the third verse. I said, oh, I can read, I can understand now. And I started, because I could read the sentence. I don't know how to read it over and over. I'm trying to figure out why can't I understand what's going on here? Because my mind was so mixed up. I was so
the PTSD.
Yeah, that PTSD, and it can happen to everyone, anybody from any situation, but mine was because I didn't really get, I guess, what they call it, situated back into civilian life. I used everything like I was in the war, in the army. I was out in the field, so, and that's the way I held, like they say, to a nail, everything is a hammer, or just the opposite of the hammer, so had a lot of situations that happened in that way. And Gretchen McBride was
Mhm.
one of my counselors.
Mhm.
And she told me, said, well, why don't you just write a letter to the sergeant? Because I was telling her about the sergeant who was right sitting beside me, who got hurt, put it that way, when we got in a scrimmage there. Got his leg, I think his leg was almost blown off. He got his face messed up and so forth. And I wasn't able to help him. And we was on the back of the truck here, and I was feeling a lot of guilt, you know. And that's the way they explained it to me as false guilt, because I'm saying he was sitting right there. It could have been me. Why was it him instead of me, and all these things and so forth. And so I wrote this piece called A Letter to Sarge. Took me a long time to write it, because every time I started writing it, all this stuff would come out, all this would regurgitate and so forth. So I wrote that, and I finally let her see it. And she pulled a switch on me, and she said, and we was in one of our sessions, she said, Roy, why don't you read your letter to the group? Oh, my heart sank. I said, oh no, I can't do that. People would know that what I did, I was a coward, because I left my partner, and I couldn't help him, and I couldn't do this, and I felt so ashamed. And the group, they urged me on to read it, and I read it. And after I finished reading it, we all were crying. The whole group of men, I mean, great big men who walked out, and we soldiers and stuff, and they're crying, and then they start saying, well, this and that, and nobody looked down on me. They lifted me up. And so sometimes when you're going through these things, you feel like you're by yourself. Nobody. Sorry.
You okay?
Anyway. And I got pats on the back, and everybody told me, oh man, I'm so proud of you. And I'm saying, proud of me for what? I didn't do it. Then another guy told me, said, yeah, man, the same thing happened to me. I was in the chopper, and the guy beside me got his head blown off, and I went through the same thing. I said, what? Then the other guy said, yeah, I know, I couldn't help my, and they started giving me, all of us had the same stories. The same type of stories. And but I was still, as I was coming to be more social, shall I say, but I still wasn't able to be social, with, I don't say normal people, but civilian people who have not been in the service or deal with soldiers. People who had been in the military.
Yeah.
But as I was, excuse me a minute. But as I started getting my composure back to talk to people and so forth, I found more about we all got something wrong with us. We all we don't know what that other person is going through. And what I learned through this what I call it, re-life, after my Damascus experience, my rebirth, I lost that summa cum laude knowledge. Not that I lost the knowledge, but I didn't have the same mental capacity in order to do all of those things, like solving the problems in my head, and thinking like this, and being able to do all these different equations and so forth. And sometimes I would look at a word and I couldn't understand it. Well, I know this word. It just looked funny. But what I learned was that it was not what was up here that what God wanted me to utilize, but He left me with enough of it to understand that it was what's in here, in my heart, that He wanted me to do. And He said to me, look, you like poetry. You like to write. You like to speak. Use that, but use it to uplift everybody else. Tell them your story. Tell them how you were looking up at your feet, you were so low. Tell them that, you can tell them that they can be better, or they inspire other people. Let them know that they are worth something. How did you feel, Roy, when you were sitting over there in the corner just crying and sucking on your thumb and so forth? How did you feel when all the people, after you read your poem, they read your letter to Sarge? How did you feel when everybody patted you on the back and lifted you up? Now, that's what I want you to do. Take other people from the corner to the pats on the back. That's what he want me to do. And that's what that's my mission. That's my purpose.
Yes, it is.
There are people who I think it's not me. It's not me to judge who you are. Now I work with the VFW, who is veterans of the foreign wars. All of us are veteran helping veterans. I don't ask you your religion. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your group is. I don't care what your politics are. If you are a soldier in trouble or in need, it's my duty is to help you the best I can. And helping you, I might not have a thing to help you, but what I can do is find somebody to bring them together to help you, to lift you up.
Exactly. So
I work with the DAV, which is Disabled American Veterans. We do the same thing. We go to the hospital. And I was at the hospital probably more than them to get counseling. But my purpose is to, whatever my situation is, it doesn't matter. Because God blesses me, not because I'm me.
Podcasting is trending, so do you want to make a podcast? Well, I have the solution for you. Spotify got a platform that lets you make your podcast super easy. Then you can distribute it everywhere and even earn money, all in one place for absolutely free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters is you record and edit your podcast right from your cell phone or your computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating your podcast today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else that podcasts are being heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. I absolutely love utilizing this new feature on Spotify with the interactive Q&A and polls that's designed to keep my audience talking at the Tina Ramsay Show. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can also earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with absolutely no catch. So ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, my podcast has elevated. As a podcast host of the Tina Ramsay Show, a podcast coach, and a podcast network owner of CTR Media Network, I highly recommend Spotify, not only because it's the best platform ever, but because I use it and I absolutely love it. I highly recommend it, and I want you to give it a try today by going to download Spotify for Podcasters on your app, or just simply go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today.
He blesses me so I can be a blessing to somebody else. And if I don't do that, then I'm not doing my purpose. When I first started, I had trouble. Sometimes I still do have apprehension. Please excuse me. Because when I start telling people the stories and start doing, sometimes I would tear up and I wasn't able to read it and so forth. And I felt ashamed that I wasn't able to memorize all these things and push out all these words and, and do the spitting like folks call it, I have to have my paper there because I'll lose concentration.
Exactly.
But in that in itself, it's saying that, look, even though I'm still broken, I'm telling you, you can do it whether you're broken or not. My job is to let you know or to tell you or to encourage you. Do the same thing. Don't look at what I used to do. Just try to make one step. If you can make one step, if you can make it through this minute, now, let's make it to the next minute.
Exactly.
Let's make it to the next minute. And oftentimes I find myself a better teacher than I am a student.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because I still have those moments of depression when I can't get things done. I don't be able to help people. Won't be able to do things that I hope that I can. But anyhow,
it's okay.
I'm a broken. Let's say I'm a broken man.
Broken.
But I'm putting all the pieces back together. But
Yeah.
the potter want to put me back together again. He put me back, not like the other person. And that's that was my problem. I was trying to be that other person. I was trying to be who I thought I was supposed to be. But he made me somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
right now we're gonna have to take a commercial break and from our sponsors. So we'll be right back.
Aluva Immune was actually something that was requested by our affiliates. Right now, people are more aware of their health than ever before. And you have to have the best immune system to help support all that's going on.
Hi, I'm Malaysia. I am a realtor and I'm also a mother of 4. After speaking with my friend, and I mentioned to her how I'm always having to take a bunch of different types of vitamins for myself and for my children, she mentioned Aluva Immune. This covered everything from immune support to energy. I get my vitamin D, my vitamin C, my zinc, all in one. Not only that, the confidence that it gave me, knowing that my kids were safe and protected against all of the germs that they were going to be coming in contact with at school. Vitamins aren't as easy to take for children as they are for adults. Luckily, with Aluva Immune, it's as simple as a dropper. My children love it. It tastes great, and it's so easy to administer. It has my back, and I know I can trust it to support myself and my children.
Just like that, we are back, and you'll come along with a friend, whom you might ask, the amazing Mr. Roy Lee Jarmon. And if you was not here for the first half of our interview, he was really telling us how it feels to be a man living with PTSD. Many times we see it, PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Let me put it like that for those of you who don't know what that stands for. And we don't understand. This is the first time I actually heard how post-traumatic stress syndrome actually affects the mind. It can affect the mind as well. We have this amazing man who was went to college and mind working all good, and then he goes to war to serve our country, come back, and he's broken from the things that he saw. Then he had a revelation. Yes, he had a revelation moment when his counselor asked him to write down how he felt, because he loved poetry. And so he took that poetry as a therapeutic way to heal his soul, but it ended up healing so many other people. And he ended up reading this poem one day that he wrote to his sergeant, and the whole room started to cry, because without him even knowing it, every man in that room felt the exact same way. So there's no reason why you cannot understand why he's emotional about this, because like I tell men all the time, God gave men tear ducts too. He didn't give you that for decoration. He gave you that because men cry too. You need to let go of that pain. Even Jesus Christ himself gave way to tears. His friend Lazarus died. So if we didn't supposed to cry, or men is supposed to cry, then why was the greatest man who ever lived? Why did he cry when he knew he could bring him back to life?
Yes, Lord.
He could bring him back to life, so why he crying? Because it hurts. So thank you so much, Mr. Roy, for being open, being transparent. Because you being vulnerable right now, it's going to help so many other men and also women who have lost someone in war, or someone maybe got injured in war, and they felt the guilt, they felt embarrassed, they felt ashamed.
Yes.
But you shouldn't, because you did the best you could do at the time that you was able to do. You just did the best that you can do. And so the fact that your poetry, you took something, because normally when you think about poetry, a man, woman write something to each other, they love each other, something like that. You wrote it and you used it in a healing tool. So thank you for sharing your story. And you wrote a poem I love it, that's called Give Me My Oscar. What's that about?
Well, that poem, Give Me My Oscar, was based on the fact that I was thinking about where Shakespeare was saying that the whole world is a stage, everybody plays a part, right? And I was looking at me, I said, yeah, but see, I have to play the same part, but I can't play it. I got another layer of PTSD that's holding me back, and that's keeping me from playing the part there. And so that poem I wrote from that perspective. And it just goes to say, just goes to show you that behind the scene, you don't know exactly. But it goes like this. They pass by my house at night, and they see the light in my window, but they don't know my pain and my plight. Because what it is a candle burning behind the window shade, sitting on the window sill, because the money that I just made was not enough to pay my electric bill. So give me my Oscar and my Tony Award and my Grammy, because I paid my dues. Okay, so I smile every once in a while, but my heart is crushed and my soul is singing the blues. Now tell me, can't you see that there's no better actor than me? So give me my Oscar and my Tony and my Grammy too. Now she was my everything, my sole reason to live, and everything to her I had, I was willing to give. I gave her my heart and my love, my soul. She took them and crushed them, and lo and behold, when I was trying to attempting to cover up my heartbreak's demise, I laughed and laughed until I cried. So give me my Oscar and my Tony Award and my Grammy too, and it goes on and on and on like that. And
love it. I love
but the last, I just want to say the last part of it It said, this PTSD won't let me live a normal life, nor be a normal friend. So I crawl into my foxhole, maybe in my den. In my bedroom, I live out there until the end, with nothing to give, no reason to live, nothing to lose, nothing to win. So give me my Oscar and my Tony Award and my Grammy too, because I've paid my dues. And it goes to tell you that, so I have a couple of things in that. Now, it seems like it's a normal situation that everybody goes through. But when you have that extra layer of PTSD that you have to deal with, it sort of makes it a little harder, a little more. And that was one of the things that that I couldn't understand. I said, why why is it always my fault? Because they taught us in counseling sessions, know your triggers. You got to do this, you got to do that, you know. I'm saying, but why is it always me that's wrong? But that's what we have to do.
Well, go ahead and give him his EGOT, his Emmy, his Grammy, his Oscar, and his Tony.
Amen.
Yes, I absolutely love that. I love poetry as well.
Oh.
So thinking about your poetry and how you use it not only as a therapeutic self-care measure for yourself, but it extended outside of yourself to your purpose of helping others, and especially the veterans who hold all that in
Right.
and blame themselves for things that was out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for taking the time to do that again.
Oh, my pleasure.
Because it's very difficult.
Yes.
Men to let go. It's acceptable in society, I quote.
Yes.
To cry.
Yes.
And you see a man cry, and the bigger he is, the more masculine he is.
Yeah.
And people are like,
What's wrong with him?
Like, he got tear ducts. God gave him tear ducts, so they need to use them. That's why we're having all these problems now, because you don't let these boys and these men cry. Let them get a little crying. It's okay. And so when I think about all these things, because you're very decorated, not only from the education standpoint, but from the military standpoint, and you're very accomplished. And so even through all your challenges and your struggles, you still found a way to permeate the earth in such a positive way. You can have been mad and angry and just, but you said, no. I'm not doing this anymore.
It wasn't overnight.
But all of us, we just a work in progress. All of us. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
How was it?
Work in progress. Yeah.
You told me this about you, which I thought was something. So how was it to work with the award-winning film producer, the former kickboxing champion,
Robert Fire? Oh my gosh, that was an experience in itself.
Uh-huh.
Back in your mind when you were kid stuff, you dream, oh man, I think I could be on TV, or I could be in a movie, I could do this, but I never really pursued it or thought that it was for me, or that I could do it and whatever. And the situation just so happens that they wanted to call me up to say a few lines in the movie. And I went there to California, and we, Robert picked me up from the airport. He put me up in the hotel, took me to the movie set, and he showed me all the ropes and stuff, and I got a chance to be in the movie, and I was just thrilled. You don't really realize all the things. You kind of know it in your mind, but until you really get there and see all the different things they have to do and all the different shots they have to take and so forth. Mm-hmm. And that was a very rewarding and eye-opening experience. I enjoyed those few days that I was down there. Snow Black. I'm telling you, that was a good experience. I really enjoyed that.
Yes.
So I'm
yes.
I'm a movie star.
Yes.
No.
Oh boy.
I've been in the movie. I'll put it that
poetry writer, and you're an actor. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And so give him what he got.
Yeah.
So yes. So Mr. Roy, when we think about all the different things that you have done, you accomplished on all different facets, because one thing that I think and that I see that's very remarkable about you is that you lived a very full life.
No.
So you lived a very full life. So you have a very diverse education, even down to your careers, how it changed from being from AT&T. Now you're award-winning poet. Now you act in movies. I mean, you went from this to that, and now you're actually mentoring and coaching and uplifting other veterans and one who feel trapped. Because
Right. Yes.
That you mentioned before that you, even though you was back home from the Vietnam War, but you were still living like you were still there. And so how do it feel in closing to know that you're helping so many men and women who never listen, being able to start living in the world now, being able to be free? Yes. So how do you realize what you're doing?
I can't put it into words. You're a poet, you can write this, you can write that, but I can't put it into words, the feeling and the gratitude and how good it makes me feel in order to be able to help someone else. Because that seemed to be more healing to me than it is to them. It would seem, if I remember when I first went into the place and I was reading my poetry and I was explaining to them what this poem mean and so forth. And one of the guys came to me afterwards and he said, "Man, I did this," and he was one of the guys that was, just like me, sitting back, and he was smiling. When you can make a person smile, that is something, and that is something that sometimes I put into my writing. I travel miles to bring you smiles, But to make a person smile, that means that gives them a different appearance. That makes them give you a different feeling. And what I tell them sometimes, is, look, if you're feeling down, you're feeling something, if you can't do anything else, force yourself to smile. Make yourself smile and see how different you feel. See, don't a smile. They say a smile is just a frown turned upside down. Well, turn it upside down, Make that smile, and so just to be able to bring a smile to someone's face, or just to give a person just a little bit of hope or encouragement, that's really what does my soul good. And I go home, I feel so much better. That's, oh Lord, thank you. And not thank you for making me do this, but thank you for allowing me to be used to be able to do this. Of course, it was I don't look at it now as something that happened to me. I think it's something that happened for me. And because of that, I really, and sometimes, I'm just sitting down and I'm just thinking of things, or I might just see us on TV, a man and his son might get back together, just hug, and it look like the tears just flow. And I'm saying, why am I? As a matter of fact, my wife has asked me so many times, why are you crying? Why? No, why are you crying? And I can't answer it. It's just that my heart is so now that I'm so glad that the Lord has given me a heart, or where they took a heart of stone and gave me a heart of flesh and love and caring. Oh my Lord.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
That's the life. That's the life.
You're gonna have me crying. Well, Mr. Roy Lee Heyman, you definitely made me smile on today by gracing the stage, coming on to the Tina Ramsay Show and podcast. So before we go, it would be remiss if I don't mention what I see in your beautiful background. Are those your
Oh yes, those are my books. I got that's my Jamaican gym right there. And the second book is to my late wife who passed away, Vershelle Cato. She's from South Carolina. Oh my gosh, that woman could make a piano and could make that organ talk to you. Boy, boy, she had that church just rocking. And she was also a master teacher and instructor at AT&T. She traveled throughout the whole country, you know, teaching all these big wigs how to care for each other. Just, you know. And the first one is called Family Foundations. I wrote that one. I dedicated that to my father and my mother. My father, he was a man of integrity, and I look on him and I said, to be a man in the poor dirt and stuff of Mississippi working. And he said to me, he said, look, I'll fight for you. I'll cry for you. I'll die for you. Anything you need, as long as you're not stealing or lying. And I said, wow. But if you're stealing and you lying, you know, ain't much I can do for you because you're not a trustworthy person. You got to be a man of integrity. I said, yes, Dad. Go ahead and preach there, young man. Yeah, I'm telling you what. So God said, look, write, tell people about it, and remember, these are not your books. These are mine. And so, you know, in every book, when I put a dedication in there, that other dedication is a praise God. Thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity. You know, and I have to put him in there because, and I also have to put something in there, something that I've written for him or about him and how his love is for us. So
yes,
God is good all the time.
All the time, not some of the time, but
yes, all the time. Even when we don't think so, we have to stand back and look. Well, wait a minute, now, why did he do that? And you know, maybe I'll learn, and as you go, you learn a little more. You learn a little more. Like you said before, we all are work in progress, and I know I'm a work. Hopefully, I'm in progress too.
We are work in progress, whether you want to admit it or not, because no man or woman on the face of this earth is perfect. So as long as we're not perfect, we all are work in progress.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the Tina Ramsay Show and podcast, sharing your story, your journey, and just being such a remarkable person. And even though through your ups, your downs, your challenges, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, the rainbow at the end of the storm.
Thank you.
And to help turn your pain into purpose.
Yes.
And using your life as a testimony to help other people. So thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. I do appreciate it.
Oh, you are most welcome. This is officially the end of the Tina Ramsay Show and podcast. So I want to talk to all of you. If no one told you this today, that you are worthy and that you are loved, I want you to know that the Tina Ramsay Show and podcast and I love you. So until next time, what do I want you to do? I want you to do what? Keep smiling. And I'll see you guys next week with another amazing guest that is here to motivate you, share knowledge, have an upbuilding conversation centered around business, wellness, education, and life. We are here to impact you with positivity so that you can grow and live your best life. I'll see you guys next week.
a really great experience on the Tina Ramsay show. I felt like she really asked some valuable questions that can help a lot of people, especially in regards to monetizing. And so the vibe was great. I honestly wouldn't mind coming back on again if she invite me. And I felt like the conversation just flowed. So I am super happy, and I can't wait for the show to air on every single platform out there. And thank you again.
Our CTR Media Network sponsors. Thank you to our corporate sponsor, Sheree Moore of SheTrucking.com. SheTrucking.com is a community committed to helping women and minorities establish and maintain successful careers in the transportation industry. To learn more, go to SheTrucking.com. Thank you to our platinum sponsors, Eleanor and Leroy Mason from HappyAndHealthy.Global. HappyAndHealthy.Global is a business that educates and provides essential natural wellness products to build your health and your wealth. Go to HappyAndHealthy.Global today to learn more. Thank you to our silver sponsors, Business Course Academy. Business Course Academy is dedicated to helping to educate entrepreneurs and startup companies with the tools and the knowledge needed to successfully grow and generate wealth for their business. Check them out at businesscourseacademy.com. Thank you to our CTR Media Network sponsors. To learn more about our sponsors and CTR Media Network, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.